Hey there, we're back. Now we just left off here at the observational study, and now we're here talking about the design experiment. A design experiment is an experiment, it's a controlled study in which the researcher attempts to understand cause and effect relationships. Okay, now let's be clear. Oh, and let me just finish. The study is controlled in the sense that the researcher controls how the subjects are assigned to groups and which treatments each group receives. Now let's be clear. Observational studies observe what's happening, but you don't get to determine what people did. So, for example, for this example that we're talking about here, people slept or didn't sleep, but it's not like you dictated to them how much they got to sleep, right? And so then their in-class exam scores changed, possibly because of they're not sleeping, but possibly due to other things, like maybe they didn't study, maybe they, I don't know, partied all night long. I don't know. Okay, now, an experiment means that you get to decide. So you're going to tell one group of students, you're going to randomly assign students into the groups and deprive one group of sleep, and the other make sure the other gets plenty of sleep. So you can imagine, for example, let's say you have students that really understand what's going on. Well, then they don't need to stay up all night cramming, so they will get lots of sleep. So maybe the higher grades in the class exam are just because those students knew what they were doing better, right? Whereas down here, when you experiment, you're going to randomly put good students into both groups. Some good students are going to get sleep deprived, some good students aren't. Some bad students are going to get sleep deprived, some bad students aren't. And you'll be able to make a better determination of why their exam scores are high or low. Is it just because they slept a lot, or is it because they actually knew what they were doing? Okay, so in case you have missed it, since I've been harping on it for a couple minutes, there's a big difference between observational studies and design experiments. Observational studies can show you where relationships occur, but because you can't control what people do, or I shouldn't just say people, I mean, this is true of, cultures and petri dishes, whatever. But since you can't determine and control what group gets what treatment, all you can show is that there's a relationship, but you can't describe it as a cause and effect relationship. All right, to get a cause and effect relationship, you have to have a designed experiment. You have to determine randomly who gets what. But let's be clear, just because it is a designed experiment does not automatically mean you've shown a cause and effect. Even if you show a positive relationship, which we'll talk about positive and negative relationships in chapter 4, but even if you show that, that does not mean that you have for sure cause and effect. It just means that you're skirting closer to the cause and effect line. I mean, cause and effect is actually a really hard thing to show scientifically. So you have to have a really good experiment with lots of controls and lots of peer review. So there's a lot going into a designed experiment to make it really show cause and effect. But you can't get it at all unless you have an experiment. Observational studies alone do not show cause and effect. Okay, let's look at this example down here. So you're interested in knowing how smoking affects lung capacity. In other words, if you smoke a lot, does that mean your lungs have shrunk? That kind of thing. All right, so as you can see, I've already written what this one is, but I want you to pause me. Go ahead, pause me, and we'll talk about what this is. Pause. Okay, done pausing me? All right, so this is an experiment. And the reason is you randomly assigned 50 of the 100 women to a smoking treatment. You randomly picked women and made them smoke, right, for 10 years. And then the other 50 women had a no smoking treatment, right? So they were not allowed to smoke for 10 years. And you randomly picked who got to be what, and then you gathered all the evidence and etc. Now, what about this one? You find 100 women age 30, of which 50 have been smoking a pack of day for 10 years, and 50 have been have been smoke free for 10 years. Catch the difference? So in this one, just in case you missed it, it's an observational study. But why? It's because you didn't determine who got to be what. You didn't say, you get to smoke for 10 years. No, right? All right, let me fill in these 1 second. There we go. So you're trying to determine smoking is the independent variable. Does it have an effect on lung capacity, which is your dependent variable? Okay. Think of the independent variable as like the cause, and the dependent variable, oh, if I could spell it right, is like the effect. All right, we'll pick up here next time.